thank you guys for coming. I have to say, first of all, you guys rock, right? Like, who wants to go outside the house in this fucking crappy weather? So, thank you, really. You have my respect. Right, so what I'm going to talk about today, and thanks Yasmin for mentioning about culture.
Yes.
So that's my theme about this evening. So, firstly, you might wonder, right, okay, so a little bit of agenda, sorry. Introduction. So I'm going to talk about who I am, what is giffgaff, you might have that question in your head, and what kind of early challenges I encountered when I joined the company, what kind of changes were made, and sort of like a before and after comparison afterwards. And if you have any questions, me and my colleague here we're more than happy to answer that. So, bit of introduction. Who am I? I used to be a security consultant actually in one of the big four. So, similar to Yasmin's background. And I worked in a startup company as well. So, a bit of different dimension. And I've been in security for about over 5 years. Currently, I'm focusing on DevSecOps in giffgaff. I joined literally just over a year in the company, and it's been fantastic. Outside of work, I love traveling. I've been to more than 35 countries, I think 35 countries so far, and I used to be in a band, so I still have stage fright right now, just saying. And I used to forget about lyrics, so that was embarrassing. I'm really passionate about history, politics, technology, and I do a lot of reading on those topics. So if you're interested in having a chat, let me know. So what's giffgaff, you might wonder? It's a bit of a weird word, I would say. I've never heard this word before in my life. Apparently it's an ancient Scottish word, and it means mutual giving and fair exchange. So it is the motto of giffgaff as well. We are providing fair telecom services to our members. We don't call them customers, apparently. And yeah, so we currently actually have more than 50% of our workforce comprises of technologists and data scientists. I actually used ChatGPT to write this paragraph. How good is it? Right? So yeah, so we are currently expanding massively. If you are interested, please go to this link, giffgaff.io. And yeah, so we are currently a very I would say ahead of other telecom company at the moment. We're very focused on cloud native applications, innovative technologies. So in terms of our DevOps journey, before I joined the company, they had already completed the DevOps transformation, which is incredible. And currently, the main stacks we use, as you can see here, might be a little bit small. Sorry. So we use AWS as our base cloud platform, and we also we use Terraform and Helm to write our infrastructure, and our devs use GitHub, Docker, and Kubernetes for deployments. And for our operations, we use Prometheus, Grafana, Kibana, So, you might wonder, so what is my job, right? giffgaff is already doing fantastic. So when I joined the company, I noticed a few let's say challenges. So before I joined, I think we had about one person who was working on security. And when we were designing the DevOps process and the entire services, security was a bit left behind. I don't know how many of you here actually had the similar dilemma in your company. You can feel my pain. And we had, sorry, anyone had a? So when I was talking about security to our teams, not necessarily just technology teams, but also the business teams, everyone had a bit of a situation there. The reason for that is, for most of companies, of course, the production speed and quality is number one priority, and we cannot deny that. And as security, sometimes we come in saying, okay, well, let's slow down for a little bit and look at, how we can do things better. That's not necessarily taken well in most scenarios. So we started, looking at a couple of gaps where we have in our current DevOps journey, our products, our services, how we're currently using our cloud environments, configurations, and of course, as Yasmin also mentioned earlier, security team normally is a bit siloed, where we also had that problem in giffgaff. So, how are we going to combat those, right? When I first came in, to be fair, I was very overwhelmed. I looked at a lot of our current processes and thinking, gosh, there is so much to do, and I almost burst into tears. No, I didn't. So the previous guy he actually implemented some security tools and scanners, which is great. The downside of it is nobody actually knew about them. Yeah. So what we firstly started at was, okay, let's have a look. Let's kind of split down what we actually are looking at. So I kind of did like a blueprint here, which have some nice icons. So when we talk about DevOps, we're thinking about, right, we need to continuously and fastly deliver commit code, build things, push into production. Great, fantastic. But when we look at, in-depth of it, in the security industry, we have this word called defense in-depth. I don't know how many of you heard about it. So yeah, I like the other name as well. It's called Swiss cheese model. So which means when you look at one piece of cheese, Swiss cheese, it has lots of holes in it, right? And then when you put several different sizes of cheese together, you might actually be able to close that hole in the middle. So, which means, we actually need to have a look at different types of controls we need to put in different environments, in different phases and processes that we do. I'm not going to go too much into depth here, just so, it might become a little bit boring. So, a couple of things to mention, we started looking at mostly plan and design and code community. The reason for that was most of our code consists of a lot of third-party components. I believe most of you guys are probably having the same issue. So when we looked at it, we started thinking, okay, well, we probably need to close down that gap first. And then we can start to looking at, configuration issues, monitoring and detections. So we built up a couple of things for closing those holes and gaps. So why I wanted to talk about culture today is in security community, we're very familiar with this thing called NIST framework, which you can see on this side. We have technology, people, process. Amazing, clear and clean. And when we looked at, okay, which one is the easiest to change, most people would say, oh, definitely process, right? Because it's internal, you can make it, however you want. But that's not the case, because when you wanted to change a process, that requires a lot of manpower, that requires a lot of knowledge around, the tooling, and also the knowledge around the things that you want to implement. So we first looked at actually the easiest thing we can do is evaluate our technology. So we started looking at tech stacks, how our teams currently are actually interacting with different tools, different technology, and including our platform teams, how they are providing different types of support to the teams, how they work together. And then from there, we started putting some sort of security reviews. So we didn't really have an automation yet back then. So we started doing a bit of self-starts ourselves, manually, and what we did was not just putting up a couple of Jira tickets up to people's boards. We all know what those Jira tickets will end up in. And we started walking through different types of vulnerabilities with each team for them to understand, okay, why is this important for you? Why does, how does this thing impact your daily job or your products in general? And we started putting up, more of educational awareness things around, sorry, there's so much texts. But essentially, summarizing that is we started looking at how we can engage people more, how we can start spreading the passion, the awareness of security, that everybody can come together. And in order to change that process, you need everyone to be on the same page, don't you? And yeah, like we have a saying in Chinese, I think, unification is power. I think that's what it's called. So we started doing a lot of works around our Security Champions program. So how it works really is you can't just throw in a couple of tools for the champions to say, okay, use this. You have to start with a proper rule stack so they know what to expect. And you probably want to have a bit of a dynamic as well with the teams, because you don't want to have champions from just one specific area. You want to have champions from each team, each area, so you can actually understand what is going on in that tech space. And that includes, our platform teams, our, SRE, etc. So once we started the Champions program, we then began with a long process of, sessions, workshops, seminars. What does that really do for people, right? Because people might think, okay, well, it's just another couple of slides around what does OWASP top 10 mean. I don't want to hear about OWASP top 10 anymore. Or cloud security tips. So what we did was we actually gathered everybody together and showcase a couple of simulations. So we actually invited not just internally, but also external speakers into our offices to showcase people, okay, for example, if you run your container as root, what would happen? Okay? And we show that in real life for people to see, right, people actually can take, one container to then get to the host. Great. And then we showcase a couple of examples around, we've probably all heard about, say, Log4j.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So we showed a couple of examples of, okay, if I actually execute that vulnerable package in our project, what could happen? Right. And I think that was kind of the turning point for people to say, shit, we need to have security. Right. So we then started, hosting some tournaments across the teams, which involve people both coming to office or on Zoom, and everybody come together, pairing up, and we selected different types of projects, and set like a timer to say, okay, well, who resolves the most vulnerabilities within a day could have iPhone 14 Pro, and we didn't actually get the iPhone 14 Pro. That says, it's more about engagements, and it's more about how we can actually work with different teams together to make our cloud environments or our production environments more secure and efficiently as well. And of course, sorry about the boring parts about compliance, but we have to do it, unfortunately. And now, so back in January in 2022 when I joined, I was a one-man team, which was great for a couple of months. And then I realized, okay, I didn't really have anyone to talk to at work. And sometimes, I guess, for me at least, I would run through ideas or thoughts in my mind, and then if I don't, check that against with somebody, I have a lot of doubts about myself. And gladly, now we're, also expanding our capacity in security to cover more threat surface. So, apart from code scanning, code vulnerabilities we talk about, we're also looking at more around, monitoring our cloud environment, our traffic, early detections, great stuff. So, I just want to show a couple of examples of, after all of that I talk about, although it doesn't necessarily have too much technical details you guys are eager to hear, but I just want to show, how massive we've changed by just trying to embed that culture and mindset into different teams, into the practice that we currently have. Right? So first one, so before we started the change internally, but my God, something happened. Tech issues. So we noticed that vulnerabilities normally took over a year to get looked at, or even nobody would even actually open up that dashboard. And now, so after a year of trying to get everybody on the same page and to do the same thing, I mentioned about the tournament. So we actually did a 24-hour competition, and we managed to remediate 200 plus vulnerabilities, unique vulnerabilities in our code base. That's including, infrastructure as code as well, containers code, everything. And the second one I wanted to showcase is that I mentioned about the Security Champion program. It wasn't easy at the beginning because, well, I thought everybody, heard about security and they were just like, oh, interesting, I want to hear more about it. No, that's not the case. So we actually had to push people to join us for the Champions program. And then after a couple of workshops, seminars, events, activities we hosted, we now have, for our tournaments, for example, we have 36 people signed up initially to participate in the activity, which, it actually took them a day off from what they normally do. And then we had about more than 80 people turn up for our workshops and breakfast sessions. To note that, we actually only have about 120 people in total in the technology space. So 80 people was like, pretty good. The third example I wanted to showcase is, so before, when we looked at particular vulnerabilities, for example, let's say, so we had about, let's say, not that many vulnerabilities in our container. We had to actually chase the relevant team for a fix, which wasn't that complicated. It was more of a fix around, okay, please change your container to not be a root user. That was it. And that took quite a long, I think, couple of weeks to actually get that sorted. And then after a year now, after we had, all of those vulnerabilities, seminars, talked to people about why they need to do this, and we actually had teams to notify us. So I remember there was a vulnerability around text for shell, which resides in the Spring framework. And people actually came to us saying, actually, I don't need you to tell me about that because I've already remediated it. So, fuck off. And then, last one, which is more, I guess, a personal personal thing as well. So when I joined giffgaff, I was questioned and doubted a lot. I remember the first 3 or 4 months, I was pretty much in a lot of sessions with stakeholders asking me why. So yeah, and then now, I didn't even have to actually ask people for any information, and people actually came to us saying, "Oh, we're doing, we're trying to do this new changes in our services or in our pipelines. We want you to get involved." So yeah, amazing.